The country club's white columns rise like judgment against the summer sky. Renata Ellison walks up the gravel path in faded jeans and a linen shirt, sunglasses pushed into her braided hair. She carries nothing but a small notebook and a set of keys. A young attendant in a crisp blazer intercepts her before she reaches the main steps. "Ma'am, deliveries and staff use the side entrance." He points toward a narrow service road curving around the back of the building. "I'm not making a delivery," Renata says evenly. "Then I'm sure you understand. This entrance is for members and their guests only." His eyes flick over her outfit, cataloging every detail. "Do you have a member escorting you?" "Not exactly." "Then I really must insist." He steps slightly to block her path, glancing toward the pro shop as if hoping someone else will handle this. Renata doesn't argue. She simply nods and turns toward the service road, walking with the unhurried pace of someone who has nowhere urgent to be and everywhere to be, both at once. The service entrance smells like bleach and chlorine. A line of golf carts sits charging against the wall. 2 groundskeepers pause their work to watch her pass, uncertain what to make of a woman who doesn't belong in either world. Not staff, not member. Inside, the kitchen staff barely notice her at first, until a woman in a hairnet, elbow deep in prep work, looks up and freezes. Can I help you?" she asks. "Just looking around," Renata says. "Don't let me interrupt." She moves through the service corridors like she's studying blueprints only she can see. She pauses at a water-stained ceiling tile in the break room. She notices the flickering fluorescent light above the walk-in freezer. She reads the handwritten shift schedule taped to a metal locker. 7 names deep, hours that don't add up to anything close to a living wage. By the time she reaches the dining room through the back service door, a floor manager named Priscilla Vance has already been alerted. "Ma'am, this area is restricted." Priscilla's voice carries the practiced chill of someone used to enforcing invisible lines. "I don't know how you got past the kitchen, but you'll need to leave through the service exit immediately." "I was just admiring the chandeliers," Renata says. 1920s, aren't they?" "I need you to leave, now." Priscilla's hand hovers near a radio clipped to her belt. A member at a nearby table, silver-haired and sun-weathered in golf whites, looks up from his lunch. "Priscilla, is there a problem?" "Just someone who wandered in from the back, Mr. Callahan. I'm handling it." Callahan studies Renata with open suspicion. "You lost, honey?" "Not particularly." He chuckles, sharing a look with the men at his table. "Well, the help doesn't usually come through this way during lunch service." "I'm not staff," Renata says. "Then you're definitely lost," one of his companions says, and the table laughs. Priscilla steps closer, lowering her voice like she's doing Renata a kindness. "Ma'am, I understand this is a beautiful club and people are curious, but we can't have unauthorized guests wandering the grounds. Let me walk you back to the service entrance." "That's all right. I know the way." "I insist." Priscilla's hand closes lightly around Renata's elbow, guiding her toward the door with practiced firmness, the kind used 100 times before on people who look like they might make a scene, or people who look like they might not know how to. Renata lets herself be guided. She doesn't pull away. She simply says, "You're going to want to let go of my arm." Something in her tone makes Priscilla's grip loosen on instinct. At the door, Renata pauses and looks back at the dining room. The chandeliers, the oil portraits of past club presidents lining the walls, the immaculate linens on every table. She takes it all in the way someone memorizes a room before deciding its fate. "I'll be back," she says, mostly to herself, and steps out into the sunlight. An hour later, a black town car pulls into the main entrance, the front one, the one with the columns. The same young attendant hurries over, straightening his blazer, ready to greet whatever important member has arrived. Renata steps out, still in the same jeans and linen shirt. Beside her is a man in a tailored suit carrying a leather portfolio. The attendant's smile falters. "Ma'am, we spoke earlier. I explained the entrance policy." "You did," Renata says. "This is Mr. Okafor, my attorney. We have a 2 o'clock with the general manager." Of course, right this way." He practically trips over himself opening the door this time, the same door he'd turned her away from an hour before. Inside, the general manager, a nervous man named Douglas Whitfield, rises from behind his desk to greet them, clearly expecting someone else entirely. His smile is already sliding off his face before introductions finish. "Ms. Ellison, we were told the new ownership group would be sending representatives to review the transition, but I wasn't aware that I'd be handling this personally." Renata takes a seat across from him without waiting to be offered one. "I like to see things firsthand before I make decisions." Whitfield's eyes dart to Okafor, then back to Renata. "Ownership group? You mean?" "Ellison Hospitality Partners closed on the club last Thursday. 61% controlling stake." Okafor slides a folder across the desk. "Ms. Ellison is the majority owner." The color drains from Whitfield's face. "I had no idea you'd be visiting today. If I'd known, You would have rolled out a different welcome," Renata finishes for him. "That's exactly why I didn't tell you I was coming." Whitfield swallows hard. "Ms. Ellison, I want to apologize if any of my staff—" "Priscilla Vance had me physically escorted out of the dining room an hour ago. A member named Callahan asked if I was lost and suggested I use the service entrance. Your attendant outside turned me away at the front door twice before he recognized the car I arrived in, not my face." Whitfield has nothing to say. "I'd like to speak with the kitchen staff first," Renata says. "Then the groundskeeping crew, then Priscilla Vance, in that order." The kitchen staff gathers nervously in the break room, the same room with the water-stained ceiling tile Renata noticed on her way through. The woman in the hairnet, her name tag reads Delphine, stands at the front, unsure whether she's about to be fired or something worse. "I want to know what it's actually like to work here," Renata says, sitting on an overturned crate because there aren't enough chairs. "Not what you think I want to hear. What it's actually like." Silence. Then Delphine speaks, quietly at first. "It's like being furniture, ma'am. Good furniture if we do our jobs right. Nobody out there knows our names unless we mess something up. Priscilla makes us use the freight elevator even when the guest one's empty," a young line cook adds. "Says it's policy." "The break room ceiling's been leaking for 8 months, Delphine says. "We reported it 4 times. Renata writes nothing down. She simply listens, the way she'd walked the halls earlier, patient, absorbing, unhurried. "Thomas Reyes has been head groundskeeper here for how long?" she asks. "Going on 31 years, Delphine says. "Started when he was 19? "Does he know the club's history? The original land? The founding families?" "Better than the members do," the line cook says, and a few people almost smile. Priscilla Vance arrives at the general manager's office already rehearsing an explanation. The kind she's practiced 100 times for 100 small transgressions that never mattered before today. "Ms. Ellison, I owe you an apology. I had no idea who you were." "That's the problem," Renata says. "You didn't need to know who I was to treat me with basic respect. You needed a reason to assume I didn't belong, and my clothes gave you one." Priscilla's jaw tightens. We have security protocols for a reason. Unauthorized individuals. I wasn't unauthorized. I was underestimated. Renata's voice doesn't rise. It doesn't need to. There's a difference, and it's the difference that matters here. With respect, ma'am, I was doing my job. You were doing your job the way it's always been done. That's exactly what I'm here to change. Renata folds her hands. How many members have you turned away at the door for looking the wrong way, Priscilla? How many staff have you had escorted out by their elbow? Priscilla says nothing. There is nothing to say. I'm not firing you today, Renata says, and Priscilla's shoulders sag with relief that doesn't last. But you'll be retraining alongside every other staff member, starting Monday on a new standard. Nobody gets guided out by the elbow because of what they're wearing. Nobody gets sent to the service entrance because someone made an assumption. That policy ends today, and you'll help enforce it, or you'll find work somewhere that still operates the old way. Yes, ma'am. That evening, Renata stands on the clubhouse veranda as the sun drops low over the 18th hole, gold light pooling across the fairway. Douglas Whitfield finds her there, uncertain whether to speak. Ms. Ellison, the board wants to know your plans for the membership. Some of them are concerned. Which ones? The ones who called me lost, or the ones who laughed about it? Whitfield doesn't answer. Here's what happens next, Renata says. Membership stays, all of it, provided every member signs an updated code of conduct by the end of the month. Respect for staff isn't optional anymore. It's contractual. Anyone who won't sign it can find another club. And Mr. Callahan? Mr. Callahan can decide for himself whether he wants to stay somewhere that no longer tolerates what he said to me today. The staff? Delphine gets her ceiling fixed by Friday. Thomas Reyes gets a formal ceremony for 31 years of service and a raise that should have come 15 years ago. Every employee gets a review of their hours and pay, effective immediately. She pauses. And the freight elevator policy ends tonight. Nobody's furniture here anymore. Whitfield nods slowly. That's a significant shift for this place. It's overdue. Renata looks out over the green, the fading light catching the same chandelier she'd admired from the wrong side of the room that morning. This club's been standing on the same assumptions for 80 years. Who belongs, who doesn't, who gets seen, and who doesn't. I didn't buy it to keep it that way. She turns to leave, then stops. Tell Priscilla something for me. Tell her the lesson isn't that she guessed wrong about who I was. The lesson is that it shouldn't have mattered who I was at all. If you've ever been judged before anyone knew who you really were, this story is for you. Like, share, and subscribe for more stories about dignity, justice, and power in unexpected hands.